All right, YouTube. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here with the podcast. We're talking Auburn football down in Deep South. College football is kinging on the plains of Auburn. The battle cry is War Eagle. We're definitely in week one where Auburn takes on Alabama A&M. Now, on paper, this is a game that should not be a game of sorts that should, garnish any kind of relevance nationally because obviously, Alabama A&M is a FCS institution in the SWAC conference, and they will probably, given all of the out of sorts situations they have going on with the new coaching changes and not being competitive for the last few years in the SWAC, really shouldn't be a factor in the SWAC and definitely shouldn't be a factor in this football game against Auburn. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports. Auburn, and as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. The biggest story of this game is, one, the Freeze 5. Will the Freeze 5, they should perform pretty well, I would think. Considering that they're upper level 4 or 5-star recruits and given the upgrades at the offensive line, I think the offense should perform well. Now, what I do want to see is some plays in any game like this. When a Power 5 football team takes on an FCS opponent or a lower tier group of 5 opponent, I want to see if what you're producing on the field and you're celebrating touchdowns and you're doing all of these different things, doing the gritty and all that other stuff, is that something that will transfer over to, say, a game against, even California for Auburn? I think they have to really focus on being intentional. They have to really focus on fundamentals. They have to really focus on, for lack of a better way of putting it, they got to focus on being focused. Now, this is a game where just off talent alone, you should win it. You should win it by multiple scores, easy. But what you want to look at in a game like this is intentionality. Has Peyton Thorne improved? Will we even see that in this particular football game? We want to see Peyton Thorne's improvement. We want to see Peyton Thorne's decision making, because even when we look back at the 2023 season, games like Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, some of the bottom feeders defensively in the SEC, he didn't play all that well. Will he have the opportunity to avoid making decisions that may not cost you in the Alabama A&M game, but may cost you against California, may cost you against Arkansas, may cost you again at home against Oklahoma? Mind you, Auburn has consecutive home games up until they travel to Georgia in the first week of October. Can we see the running game get going? Which it kind of got going last year. I thought Damari Austin did a great job. I really am impressed with Jerquez Hunter, even though he got off to a slow start, almost getting to that rank to where he was the first 1,000-yard rusher for the Tigers since 2017. Also, I want to see what role the transfers will play wide receiver-wise. Sam Jackson, Keandre Lambert-Smith, those guys, what they will do to put Auburn in a position to be successful, because you definitely don't want to depend heavily on freshmen, because although talented, they got to have some kind of leg to stand on as far as consistency and that leadership, because they just haven't been there long enough to be leaders, to have that rapport with the other team to be leaders. And that's where the Keandre Lambert-Smith And those guys, Sam Jackson, where those guys step in. Alabama A&M has been struggling for the last few years to be relevant in the SWAC conference, just as Auburn has in the SEC. On a different note, Auburn has done a different job recruiting. Top 10 recruiting class in 2024. Looks like they're going to have another top 10 class into 2025. Overlapping talent is not a factor just of yet. I think Auburn still has to, find these plug and play players to piece together the wrongs that have been done from prior years leading up to now. But look, I think Auburn has done some great things. They have a hell of a amount of depth on the defensive side of the football field. I think they can rotate out and actually avoid injury in this game, which they should. And we're going to make this one the first prediction show of the year relatively short because, to be honest with you, there's really not much to talk about. Auburn's a better team. Auburn's going to be the better team at least for the next couple of weeks. And maybe even be the better team against Oklahoma. Who knows? We'll find that out in a few weeks. But it's no need to waste a lot of time trying to overanalyze a situation where Auburn is probably going to cover the spread, plus or minus 46 points. It's no need to stretch this thing out just for the sake of commentary, just for the sake of content, because Auburn will win this game. How? Here's what we want them to win it. How? We want them to play great on special teams. We want Auburn to score, especially with the first offense, every opportunity possible. There shouldn't be any 3 and outs with the first squad if this Auburn team is going to do what they think they're going to do in this season. With that in mind, it's prediction time. Alabama A&M has not been a formidable opponent for the Auburn Tigers since the inception of this in-state matchup. Back in 2012, Auburn had the worst possible team scenario-wise possible. 50-plus points for Auburn. Single digits for Alabama A&M. Same was true in 2016. 55 points for Auburn. Single digits for Alabama A&M. Unfortunately for Alabama A&M, this is probably the most talented Auburn team that they will ever face, assuming that this game is ever even played again. Auburn wins this game 56-7, and I'm being particularly modest because all of the Auburn teams that have faced Alabama A&M before, 2012 arguably the least well coached. I wouldn't say there was a lack of talent. They struggled mightily. They lost the most SEC games that they could have lost during that particular time, but still enough to blow FCS Alabama A&M out. And in 2016, Auburn was actually in the middle of the possibility of the first 2-loss team in the college football playoffs, but they fell apart. They lost against Georgia the week prior and then loses to Alabama the week after that, but still managed to blow Alabama A&M away. I got Auburn in a prediction 56-7. That's what we got. Vernon Speaks for us, Auburn. We've been doing this for a few years now. And I think if you look back at the prediction shows, I'm usually pretty spot on. Like this video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn down in the Deep South. College football is king, and down in the Deep South, we're absolutely excited to have college football back. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger.